krukocrafts knitting podcast. My name is Christina and I'm coming to you from Vilnius. This podcast is all about knitting and all other crafty goodness. You can find me on Instagram by the name krukocrafts or my personal page Kitoniška. I have my page where you can find all show notes by the name krukocrafts.com. You can check my page on Facebook or my Etsy shop, also the same name, krukocrafts. And I'm very happy that there is so many people who are coming back to watch this podcast, and I want to say thank you for them. I really appreciate that. And also I want to say hi for everybody who are new this time. I hope you will find something interesting for you here. This time, this episode will be a bit different. Normally, I'm talking about my finished object, works in progress, and other stuff, but this time I decided to do this episode a bit differently. I saw this type of videos in the beginning of this year, and they're called Knit Live Survey. It's like 25 questions about knitting and myself, and I've thought that it would be really interesting to answer them, and you will get more information about me. And if you have some more questions, I would be very happy to answer them, so just write down below in the comment section. And yeah, I think we can start. Yeah, so there is 25 questions. I hope it won't be very long. So the first question is, what sparked your interest in knitting? So for me, I think it is the opportunity to make mistakes, because it's like more calming for me, because I really like sewing too. I finished fashion design, and if you are making, I don't know, t-shirt or a dress, and you're cutting fabric and you have like specific amount of fabric and you cut accidentally two similar size, but you need two different ones and you don't have no more fabric, it's really hard to manipulate and fix the mistake. But if you are knitting and you made a mistake, it's quite easy to unravel it. Or even if you made a mistake or tangle yarns, you can just cut it and remake it. So it's like, for me, it's more calming, so I really like that, and more relaxing, because normally when I'm knitting I don't have to think, I just can knit and I can watch something or chat with people, and it's like my hands are working but my brains are getting relaxed, so it's real nice. And the second question is, how and then did you learn knitting? I don't remember the exact date or time, but I think it was something in my primary school. My mom taught me how to knit, and she taught me also crocheting and knitting, and at that time I liked it more crocheting, and I was crocheting even in my school on the breaks, and I was making like little bags or napkins or some little things from yarn, and mostly it was gifts for like birthdays or so. Yeah, I really liked it, crocheting then, but also I learned knitting, and I started knitting more, I think, I think later, maybe in 10th grade or something like that. And now I'm knitting a lot. And next question is, what is your favorite cast on method? I don't know, or it's my favorite, but I learned this one from my mom, and I using all the time for like bigger knits. and it's long and cast on, and for me it works all the time, especially but not on socks. When I'm knitting socks I'm doing mostly toe ups, so on socks I'm using Maggie's, how it's called, no it's not Maggie's Jenny, surprisingly stretchy, but that specific toe up socks cast on, I will write the name somewhere. I had to write somewhere, I forgot. Okay, we can jump to another question, and this one is, what is your favorite type of knitting design element? It can be brioche, lace, cable, color work, etc. So for me, from these ones, I think it's lace. I really interested in knitting lace, because when you're reading the patterns, it looks quite difficult, and sometimes you're just reading and you can't understand what's happening there. But when you start doing it, it's amazing things are happening, because you can create those interesting ornaments and gaps and everything. It's really interesting for me, so this one is very exciting for me to knit lace. But if I want to knit something really calm, it's the easiest one, and I was knitting this type of stitch and element. When I started, I was knitting a lot. All my sweaters was garter stitch, and I really liked it, and it was, didn't need to think about that. I always just knit, and also it creates for me a real nice texture of knitting, because it's almost double, so it's very nice for me. The fifth question is, what is your favorite project you have ever knit? So I had to think about this before, and I decided that my favorite one at the moment is the poncho that I made for my fiance. I showed this one in my first episode. It's like this huge one, and I embroidered some birds, some wolves, there's some goats and a bear here, and there is rabbit and a squirrel on one side. So I really like this one. It's super warm, sometimes even I using it, but for me it's almost like a blanket. I can just cover it myself and sleep in this one. And I know it was quite long knitting this one, but I really liked it. It was like, I don't know, it's something special, and I really know that he likes it, so I'm very happy about that. And yeah, and I think it's, at the moment, it's one of my favorite one. And next question is, how many projects are in your Ravelry list? So this one is not very good question for me, because I have Ravelry, but I don't know why, but I'm not using it so often. Mostly I'm checking the other patterns, reading what other people are doing, but I'm not uploading anything there. And I have a lot of stuff in my library, but it's, I don't know, I'm like, I don't know how to explain. I don't know why I'm not using it very well. So there is a lot, but I think there is even more in my mind and all books what I have, because I'm marking what I would like to knit. And I also have Pinterest, and I'm just putting pictures what I would like to knit there. And sometimes I even don't look for pattern. If I like the picture, I always think that, oh, maybe I can figure out how to knit that, or just find something similar and create something the same, or even I can create something a bit differently, but it would be my creation. So yeah, so it's, I'm not very good on Ravelry, but sorry for that. It's better if you want to find me and chat with me and check what I'm doing, it's better to check my Instagram, because I think I'm more often on Instagram than on Ravelry. And if you want to write me, it's better to write down below in comments or on Instagram. Yeah. So the next one, I have the book with all questions. What is your favorite weight of yarn to work with? And I was thinking about this one. I think one of my favorite is decay, or something about the decay. It can be iron weight. Also, I really like the type of, I think it's fingerless, when you, for socks, but not mostly for myself. But if I'm knitting sweater, or for myself, or my fiance, or for presents, so I really like decay. I think it's something in between of very bulky and what you can knit very fast, and very thin like lace one. So it's like the something in the middle, and I really like it. 8th question is, what was your first knitting project? So this one was, if I remember well, at first I think I knit some, I don't know, maybe it was just samples, just knitting some squares. It was also good for like baby dolls, like a blanket. But like bigger knitting project was scarf for my brother. I knitted in, I don't remember, I think it was 8th or 7th grade, and I made it in 2 colors, and I embroidered his favorite basketball team name on all this scarf. So it was like present for him, and he really liked it. He was wearing it. I think even at home I can find somewhere. I'm not sure, but I think there is somewhere back at home in my parents' house. I think they still have that scarf, and yeah. So this one was my first one, bigger project. And question 9 is a bit longer, and that is, what is the longest time you have had half-finished project and in hibernation? What is it, and when did you cast on? Do you still want to finish it? So for me, I think at the moment is this one is Granny Squares blanket. It's not knitting, it's crocheting, but I'm counting as, I think it fits here too. So at the moment it's this one, and I think it's getting me quite, I don't know, I think I started maybe more than a year, maybe year and a half before, but it goes very slow just because I'm using all scrap yarns. You can see it's like very small parts of the yarn, and because I'm using that, so I'm not all the time have this amount of scrap yarn, so it's going quite slow. But I hope maybe this year I can finish this one. I would love to, and yeah, I'm planning to finish because I really like these crochet blankets, and I think they are very cozy and very nice element at your home. Some people likes it to make in like one specific color or palette, but I like then they are like made from scrap yarn, so they have more memories, because all that tiny bits of yarn remind me of some other projects, and I can just take that blanket and remember everything of that. This 10th question is, what is the largest project you have ever knit? And this one is also the Granny Square blanket. I did one, I finished also last year, and I think it also took me for 1 year. But this one is like that one I showed you before. It was like goes like lines, and this one I started in the middle, and it's like goes like big squares and like that. So this one, it's quite smaller, but that one, what I'm making now, but at the moment it's the biggest project what I did, and I really like it. It's very warm, very colorful, and it's very good in winter when you need something, one more layer on your blanket when you are sleeping. So yeah, this one is the biggest and also very colorful. Also I made from different scrap yarns, but for this one I use just not only scrap yarns but like leftovers balls from different projects. So yeah, this one is the biggest. 11th question is, what is the worst and the just overall bad didn't work out thing you ever knit? So for me, there's one sweater. I will show you. So there is this sweater. You see, it's two colors, and it's like not by any pattern. Also garter stitch, what I was talking before. But the funniest thing is that I was making the sweater before using this yarn, and here it's like double of that yarn. I don't remember the name of the yarn, but I had a lot of the yarn balls. I think it's wool and mohair, I think so, because it's very warm. And I finished the sweater, and maybe I wear it like 2 times, and it wasn't fitting very well, and I decided, okay, it's not gonna work, so I can unravel it and just make it something new from that. So I decided to make new sweater, and I took the yarn double, and the bottom of the sweater I made from that yarn, and I decided to use just because it's really warm and a bit scratchy, so I decided that the top of the sweater can be just not so warm. It can be acrylic yarn because I'm not afraid of that, and I decided to make something dark, and it will be 2 colors and it will be fine. And I made it this, like you're making a square and then you're making sleeves and just sew it to one side of the square, and the top is also square and a bit here, and it looks quite okay when you're looking at it, but when you start wearing it, it's so uncomfortable. I don't know. At first I thought that maybe I will wash it and it will be fine, but no. So now I'm thinking what to do, or to unravel one more time and to make something, because I don't want to throw it away, because now I just don't like it to throw stuff away. I will find some person who would like it and say, oh, it's really nice and it fits for me very well, so I would be very happy to give it to them. But now I think maybe it would be a good idea to just maybe unravel it and use that yarn to that scrappy blanket, then just because the yarn is really nice and the colors are nice and it's warm, so I don't know. I'll think about this. It's still laying in my shelf, and like I still haven't decided what to do with this one. But this one was one of the horrible thing what I did, and because before when I started knitting from the patterns, I was always knitting from my imagination, and if it's sweater, normally I was knitting a lot of squares. I would sew them somehow and it was working for me, but with this one it wasn't. So, and after this one I started to knit sweaters with the patterns, so, and it works a bit better now. Next question is 12th, and this one is, what is your favorite kind of project to make? Socks, sweaters, shawls, etc. So for me, I think it's socks, because I really like that, because it's fast, so you can just finish very fast one of your projects, or you can just have a lot of them and just mix and match of them. And I really like that you can incorporate, just use a lot of different elements in your socks. It can be cables, lace, and a lot of colors, so really interesting to manipulate with that and play with that. So I think socks is one of my favorites, and I really like to knit socks for gifts. So yeah, this one is the definitely socks. And next question is, what is your favorite type of fiber to work with? And this one, I don't have like specific one, or like merino wool or some other stuff. For me, I think I really like to knit from non-superwash wool, no matter what type of wool, but non-superwash wool. I know that it's scratchy, I know that it's sometimes harder to knit than that, but for me it's created that really authentic look, authentic fabric, and it's really, I don't know, very nice, really, how to explain it, it's really like this one I was talking before. Here, like this part is non-superwash and these are superwash. So for me, these ones who are not superwash, like you can see here, have like some bits of yarn going away, and the pattern and the texture is like more natural. I don't know, remind me of countryside and my grandma's knitwear. So I don't know, maybe it's that. So yeah, for me it's like non-superwash wool. It's my favorite one. And the next question is, are you a self-proclaimed yarn snob? And for this question I can say no. Maybe I would like to be, and I would like to buy a lot of yarns, because when I went to a shop and I see all those yarns, I really want to have them. But now in my casual life, not knitting one, I'm really into low waist, low impact movement, and like kind of a minimalist. And I start thinking that maybe at first it's better to use what you have. So I have quite a lot of yarn in my shelves, in my boxes, and I decided this time, like, at first I will knit everything from that, and when I will finish I will buy something new. Yes, I'm sometimes buying some new yarn for my shop for making kids stuff, but this one is like for my business, but not for myself or for my presents or something for my family. But yeah, and I even thinking now that I have also a lot of yarn from the old sweaters that I unraveled. So maybe even after I finish all what I have now, maybe I would be more happy to buy some old sweaters and to unravel them and make something from them, because I think that there is a lot of yarns and maybe we don't need so much of them, and we can use that other stuff what is already made, but the yarn is still good. So yeah, so I'm not a snob of yarn. Yeah. The next question is, what is your hem knitting retreat or fiber festival to attend? I have been just at one, so it's Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and so at the moment this one is my favorite. I would love to go to some other, but at the moment it's sadly that in Lithuania we don't have nothing very big about knitting. I would love to participate in one of that, but at the moment it's really, I don't know, knitting is quite popular in Lithuania, but it's like popular in not for young people. It's more for everybody's thinking that knitting is for your mom, grandma and aunt, but not for student girls or something. So it's not so popular here in this type of, but I hope it's changing, because we have a lot of shops of yarn, very good quality of yarn, very nice farms of many farmers who grow sheep and lambs, and so we have our natural yarn, and I hope everything is changing, and maybe later it would be something happening in Lithuania too. But at the moment I think the favorite festival for me is Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and I'm really hoping next year to go there. And 16 question is, the question of 16 is, what is the oldest yarn in your stash? So for me is this one. So it's linen yarn, and it's very old. I don't know how old it is. You can see it's not even, and this one is made by my grandma, and I think even she made this one when even I wasn't on this planet. So it's very old, because before, I don't remember, on my grandma was growing linen, but something around that area was growing, and she was getting the fibers, and she was creating yarn, and she was weaving a lot. We have a lot of blankets and tablecloth from her. So this one is, I have a few more balls of this, and this one is really soft, and I also have one really scratch, and even with some small bits of linen fibers. So yeah, I think this one is the oldest, and I would love to make something from that, but it's like from my grandma, and it's really nice to have it just as a ball. But I hope one day I will create something from that, and it will be really nice and memory to have it for me, and maybe to give to my children and say, oh, your grandmother made the yarn for this thing. So yeah, this is the oldest one. The next question is 17, and is, are you a gift knitter or a selfish knitter? So for this one is, I'm definitely the gift knitter, and in my mind I have a lot of plans to knit for myself, but always if I start something for myself, and I don't know, my friends or some celebration happening, my friends have birthday or something happening around, I always will put my knitting aside and start making gifts. And yeah, so I'm knitting more for my friends and family and gifts than for myself. Maybe it will change one day, but I'm really excited to make handmade gifts. So for me it's like, it's okay. I'm not so sad that I don't have all those sweaters and shawls and socks what I would like to make. Next question is, what do you like to watch or listen to while you are knitting? It can be listening books, music, movies, vlogs, podcasts. List your favorite if you want it. So for me, I'm mostly watching podcasts from YouTube, or sometimes I really like to watch some documentaries, movies. So on my last episode I talked about my favorite podcasts, and there is few more what I really like to watch too. So they are Tiny Human Knits, Potter and Bloom, Skander Knits, Lottie and Albert podcast, and there's a lot of more. Sometimes if I'm knitting and I can just in one day watch like, I don't know, 5 of them, if it's like that knitting mood and I have time to knit and sit all day at home. So yeah, I really like those podcasts because they are inspiring, and you can watch them and see what other people are making, and you can learn from them, and also it looks that they are sharing the view. That's why I'm also was inspired to create my own podcast, to have opportunity to share to my experience and to my kind of view on how I see knitting world. So yeah, I really like knitting podcast. Next question is 19, and it is, do you prefer wood or metal needles? So for me it's both, and it depends on the project and the yarn what I'm using, because I really like to use metal ones on non-superwash wool and wooden ones on superwash wool. So this is the difference, but I'm using both of them, and I have a lot of them in both types. Next question is, Is there a pattern or product what you have knit more than one time? So I think it's socks. I knit a lot of vanilla socks, and also my baby rompers, but I'm knitting for my shop. So I made quite a lot of them, and those little shoes for babies, I call them batiche. I also made quite a lot of those too. So this is the things what I made more than once. 21st question is, do you have any other hobbies? Yes, I have, and it is crocheting. I think you had to understand that because I showed quite a lot of crocheting projects, and I also really like to sewing things. So I also finished fashion design, so I'm not so into making clothes, but more to make some bags, some other stuff what you can just sew with a sewing machine. So yeah, knitting, sewing. This is also gardening and growing stuff and cooking, but from most of those similar to the knitting part, crafting, so it's crocheting and sewing. Next question is, what is your favorite snack? And I am vegetarian / vegan because I don't know how to explain that. I'm mostly vegan, but I'm use honey, so it's not totally vegan. And so my favorite snacks is all fruits. I don't know, it depends on my mood what type of fruit I want to eat and what can make me happy, but definitely it's fruits. And also I really like popcorns, what you can make at home, because those which ones you can make at home, you can put all flavoring and salt what type of you want, and the amount of what you want of your taste. So it's, for me, it's real nice, and I really like them. And my fiance really good of making them, so sometimes he makes bag of me and I have all the bag of popcorn for snacks. So yeah. Next one is, what is your favorite color? All the time was, I think it's still till now, it's green. I really like all types of green color. I really like that spring color of green. Then the leaves start just blooming and coming out, and they are like real light, but also really like deep green, the forest one, and like all types of greens, really nice for me, and I really like it. And one more is 24 is, do you have pets? If so, tell us about them. At the moment we don't have any pets. I had 2 pets at home back in my parent home. They still have them. It's dog and a cat. But at the moment we're living in a small apartment, and I don't know, I would love to have a cat. Maybe a dog if we would have like big house and big garden where he can run around and live outside. And because I don't think that it's, for a dog it's real nice to live in like in 1 bedroom apartment. For cats maybe it's okay, but still, I don't know, I think that for animals it's nicer to live in a bit more open environment. So if you are living in a flat, it's really hard to take them outside, especially cats, because they want to go everywhere and you can just let them go and you never know or they will come back. But if it's house, you can teach them, and nobody, I don't know, maybe one day we'll have, I would like to have more cats. So yeah, we will see how it will be. And the last question is, last but not least, coffee or tea? So for me, definitely tea. I really like all herbal teas, natural ones, and we have a lot of like in our forest. So on summer we can just go pick them and try, and all winter we have different types of herbal teas. So I really like those. And that's all. It's 25 questions. I hope you liked it, and if you have some more questions, I would be really happy if you would put them down below in comment section. And I'm really happy to have opportunity to share everything. And next episode, I hope it will be more about my craft, about knitting, crocheting, sewing, and other stuff. And this one is just to make this podcast more interesting, so I made it a bit differently. And I really want to say thank you for everybody who come to watch this one. And yeah, happy spring, and thank you for watching. Happy knitting, and see you soon. Bye.